So, hello everyone, welcome. Today is our Building Generational Wealth webinar. Before we get started, could our two presenters kindly introduce themselves to the group?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stan Malecki. I'm the owner here at Malecki Financial Group. I specialize in working with business owners and doing exit planning for them to prepare them for the next step after they sell their practice. Eric.
Hi, my name is Eric Stiles, and I'm a certified financial planning professional here at Malecki Financial Group. I help affluent professionals retire early, and we're very happy to have everyone join today.
I'm Anastasia. I'm part of the team here at Malecki Financial Group, and I'm your moderator for today. So, as we said, today is our Building Generational Wealth Strategies for Your Financial Legacy webinar. So we're going to be talking about how you're going to be able to secure your family's future and build generational wealth for the generations to come. We're giving you the insights you need, practical steps that you can use starting basically immediately. So we're going to start with the definition, basics of financial planning, and how to invest wisely, plus some insights to real estate planning, and charitable giving, and how that ties into everything. So, Stan, if you want to get started with our definitions.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So really simply put, generational wealth is simply assets, resources, and financial stability passed down really over time. It's a great way to be able to encourage your children with this and even your grandchildren to pursue their own dreams for themselves. So essentially it's like you're building a better future than even you've had today, passing it on to the next generation.
So, Eric, could you tell us about how we can get started on setting this up?
Well, building generational wealth, it really starts with you have to set clear goals. You can't just aimlessly, go on through your financial life and, without something to be shooting for. So you want to have defined specific goals of like when you want to retire, how much money you want to live off in retirement. Do you want to help fund your kids or grandkids' education costs? Your how much, if you do have debt, when do you want to have that eliminated? If you don't have specific clear-cut goals, it's really hard to set up a strategy to, for your life because you don't really know what you're shooting for. You don't know what your destination is when you're driving down the road. And so, and one of the big things that, it's in connection with that is once you have your goals set clearly and defined and specific, you set up your budget and you start saving for those goals. We really think that everyone should have a specific, categorized budget to be going over at the end of each month, written down and detailed, because this is the way you can see how you did, how well did you do the past month, or how poorly did you do the past month. Obviously you want to have more money coming in than going out, but it's kind of really hard to tell how you're doing if you don't have it defined and have it written out, because also it could present opportunities. You could notice that, oh, if we cut back in one area, that can help us get it to a certain goal. And so having a budget, going over it every month can be really, really useful in pursuing those goals. I know my wife Lindsay is not a fan all the time of having to have our monthly meetings to go over our budget, but obviously she sees the value in doing so, and I really think everyone should as well. And also, something that's very, very important as well, that's a connection with the two, is having an emergency fund, which I know Stan's going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So yeah, emergency fund, definitely we recommend clients to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside in addition to your investment strategies so that you don't have to dip into those and disrupt those if something should come up, like you have an emergency medical expense or you lose your job. At least if you have some of that money set aside, you're able to access those funds, not disrupt your plan accordingly. So one of the things we always practice here and that we always share with our clients.
Yeah, and one thing also just in connection with that is just, financial planning is not a one-time thing. It is a ever-evolving, always changing thing. And unfortunately, whenever you set that financial plan at first, it doesn't always go as planned. And if you're not ready for the unexpected, for the the job loss, the home issues, stuff like that, it could really, derail everything. And so, like Stan said, having that emergency fund is so important because it gives you that buffer for life's unexpected. It's going to happen. There's going to be unfortunate financial things that happen in your life, and you can't predict what's going to happen, but you should be ready for it.
So let's say somebody has their goals set up and they have a clear plan, but there's got to be more to it for building generational wealth, right? What's really the difference? How can they make that move?
Yes, exactly, Anastasia. So that's really where investments come into play. And we're talking about maximizing wealth over time. There are so many different approaches that you could use out there. So, different things might work best for you in your situation. But here's a few that we kind of really want to talk about today. So diversification is really simply spreading your investments across different, asset classes or asset, categories to really smooth out the road. It helps mitigate risk, in the portfolio, and it really helps capture potential opportunities. Compounding interest, that's a big thing that we do when we're planning with clients, is that it's simply using the power of compounding and reinvesting earnings over time.
No, yeah, no, of course. And also, kind of go on to that is, take advantage of your tax efficient strategies. I'm sure a majority of you out there that are still working, you have employer sponsored plans at work that you can save for retirement, and they either tax deferred or maybe if they have Roth versions of it, tax free, for the future manner. And, whether it's, your employer sponsored plans, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, take advantage of your tax efficient vehicles. And if it's not a retirement account, just your standard, non-retirement investment account, there are investment strategies that can help try to minimize taxes on the investment side. And all this, whether it be diversification, the power of compound interest and tax efficient strategies, it can get pretty complicated. And for a lot of people, lives are busy, and they don't have the time to ensure that their strategy on their own is set up in an efficient way. And that's where professional guidance comes in. Seek out financial professionals like us, and make sure that your investment strategy is aligned with your financial plan and in pursuit of achieving your goals.
The next approach on here is entrepreneurship. And Stan, you said you like to work with business owners. So could you tell us more about this for generational wealth?
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite ways to encourage wealth for the long term. So with his entrepreneurship and, owning a business, being a certified exit planning advisor, we work with a lot of business owners and try to help them, with building their practices or their businesses to exit at some day down the road in the future. And what we do is to try to really encourage now, 5 years out before retirement, they really need to kind of have a plan in place so that we could really accelerate their business and their opportunity for maybe capturing more wealth to pass on and into their retirement years. And kind of shifting to succession for a minute, it's sadly said that the studies show that succession, most business owners, I think over 60%, do not have a succession plan. So everyone out there, a business owner, please make sure you have a written succession plan. And it's really about mindset, kind of really creating, among the family, if you're a family business, trying to help your children or family members within the business and really encourage them to, explore their own entrepreneurial opportunities as well. And just focus on a smooth transition. That's really what this is all about today, is talking about transitioning that wealth and coming up with different concepts and ideas to try to really help make it a smooth transition.
So a different concept for wealth is also real estate. There's so much to be said here, but I'll let Eric take the lead.
No, of course. And, for a lot of people, one of their generational wealth tools is passing along real estate to their loved ones when their time comes. And, for a lot of people just can start out their careers or down the road, they have a decision. Do I buy and own a home, or do I rent? And there's a lot of advantages to owning a home. First off, for those majority are going to be getting a home with a mortgage. For those of you that have a mortgage, every single payment you make, you're chipping away and getting a little bit more back of equity. So just the act of paying for your living is helping out for your generational wealth. And then also you have the potential to get different tax deductions, whether through your mortgage interest or property taxes. And then also the real estate market over history, over the long term, has generally always tended to go up. So you also just have that value as well. And not everything is great with homeownership. You also need to make sure you have an emergency fund because, unfortunately things will break and, new, hot water heater, new air conditioner, air conditioning, you lose your job, but you still have to pay your mortgage. And so that's where you, like Stan talks about a few slides ago, you really, really need to have an emergency fund because if not, and also being a homeowner and one of these unfortunate events happen, it could lead to severe financial strain. And the worst thing, you don't ever want to get to missing mortgage payments, then you have the risk of a foreclosure. So really, the homeownership could be a great benefit for generational wealth. Just make sure you have an emergency fund for those things you can't expect. And then, for the majority of people, being a homeowner, it's your home first. It's an investment second. But there's also the ability that you also can look into investing in rental properties where it's a pure investment. You still get the benefits from the potential growth in just the real estate market in general, the benefits from paying down the mortgage and just getting additional equity from paying off principal. And then you also get potential, tax deductions from the interest payments and from property taxes. You still get all that, but then you also get the potential for passive income. So rental property real estate could be a huge tool in building generational wealth. But just like with regular traditional homeownership, there are potential concerns that you need to be prepared for. Obviously your maintenance and upkeep, just like you would for your home, but also tenant turnover and potential vacancies that you may go in that not receiving that passive income. And then also, markets fluctuate. There's potentially certain areas that, rental property does really great, now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that might not be the most desirable location to have rental property. So it is, obviously, we're talking about this at a very high level today, but there are potential great prosperous benefits from real estate, but they do come with their challenges, and you just need to be prepared for it. Have that emergency fund ready if any of those were to pop up.
So let's say our guests on the call today actually do get their generational wealth in place. How can they protect it? What can they do to make sure that their legacy actually lives on?
Yeah, perfect. So estate planning, like you see right here on the screen, is a huge next step. When you're planning, that's kind of definitely a huge part of what we recommend and we facilitate with estate advisors and estate tax advisors and attorneys here with our practice. It's basically, making sure that your assets move smoothly and just the way you want things to be set up with your estate. Across generations, making sure things are legal, with legal complications, working with an attorney is very helpful. Writing a will, making sure that you have one written and current and up to date, setting up trust, naming beneficiaries, you're protecting your legacy. So trusts, they offer an added control and protection to the way you want to have flexibility over those assets. Maybe sometimes we call it gifting with strings, where you may not want all your assets to be transferred upon your death. Maybe you want a portion of it over time. Maybe you want an upfront amount and then have your children, let's say, have income for the rest of their life. There's so many different ways that you can do that. Naming beneficiaries, just helping smooth that transition and having a direct asset transfer to those people that you want, where you want to receive the money.
I know you mentioned a form of gifting. Does that include charitable gifting, or is that something that's a little bit separate?
Yeah, so gifting is definitely, so there's charitable donations. So you can kind of see on the screen, being philanthropic and such, that there's different ways that you can gift money to. It could be your university you attended or a church that you belong to. It could be so many different things. Wherever your heart is, sometimes people want to gift to that, and there's tax advantages to that and such. So it's more about, leaving a legacy and social responsibility there. It's more than just, financial, of course. So remember, like, really acquire the basically require a written record. Keep a track of all this so that when you do make donations and things like that, you can work with your accountant on. And just keep in mind, if you do happen to liquidate investments to make a charitable donation, there could be capital gains tax involved. So just kind of be aware for that.
There's definitely always tax implications to be aware of. So let's quickly recap before we move into any questions that our guests might have. The key takeaways are is that generational wealth is important and it's not impossible. There are steps that you can take right now, and that might be setting your financial goals, building a budget, starting to invest if you haven't started already. And the next steps are looking like continuing these family discussions, right? You have to be able to talk about it to know what's going on before you can actually create this legacy. What's a legacy if there's no one to carry it on? And you can find ongoing support with our team, of course. So speaking of that support, engage with us. If you have any questions, there should be a Q&A box below. We have two really qualified professionals that would love to answer any questions you might have. We'll give it a few minutes to see if anything pops up. I see we do have one question from a few minutes ago that we did practically answer with passing on real estate to your children, if there's anything else we want to add for that.
I guess the only other thing is just, you want to make sure you have this conversation, with your children. And, because in a lot of circumstances, there may be, one child that maybe, let's say it's a family home or it's a vacation home that wants to keep it, but maybe the others want it to be sold and have the assets distributed. So, as far as passing down real estate, I think you should, really be open with those that are set to inherit it to make sure there's no, arguments and no, conflicts when the time comes. Make sure everyone's on the same page that, let's say, child one wants to keep the house and they're ready to buy out child two and child three, and just have it be as a clear cut, or you have it set up in your will or with your trust in a specific way that if they're going to keep that entire property, maybe the other children are going to be getting, other assets to make up for the difference. So I think passing down real estate as far as for generational wealth and is a great tool. There's a little bit more additional complications with it beyond passing down an investment account. So you just want to have a clear, fluid conversation with those that are potentially going to be taking it to make sure that there's no disagreements and there's an exact plan for, unfortunately, when your time comes, what's going to be done with the real estate asset.
Yeah, that's perfect. Eric's spot on with that. We really recommend family meetings, quite frankly, to some of the examples Eric just talked about, where maybe child one wants the real estate, but the other children don't. So work that out, plan that, and have that upfront expectation. Don't wait till the last minute or don't not talk about it. I really think making an organized meeting like that makes total sense for planning.
Yeah.
So we got another question in the chat that I think is directed for Stan, and it's, what about passing down a business or an LLC to your children? You're the exit planning advisor, so what do you think works best there?
I mean, it's a great question. I know it's kind of vague because you need to know a lot about what the business is and so on and so forth, but there are so many different ways you could pass on the business. And I really recommend, there's even family planners sometimes that we'll connect with, but really, does it make sense to have an employee stock ownership plan? There's different ways to do internal transfers and have that done successfully, where you're maximizing value now so that when you do exit, passing that on to the next generation as well. So there's a lot of, I know that's vague, but there's not enough to know to be specific, but shoot us an email. We can maybe answer more questions if you'd like.
So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, and I don't want to hold anybody up for too long. So of course, Stan said, if with any specifics, you can always reach out to us. We want to quickly say thank you for joining us. I hope that today was eye-opening and gave you a little bit more insight to the steps you can take to build generational wealth. And of course, here's our contact information, just to make it a little bit easier. If you want, the best email to start with is contact@maleckifinancialgroup.com, or you can always call the office. Take a quick screen grab. Please connect with us on social media. and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, everyone. I know we talked a high level about a lot of these topics, but if any of you want to have a more detailed, specific conversation about your situation, like Anastasia said, give us a call. We'll set up a time and we can get as detailed and as specific as you like. And I appreciate everyone spending the time with us today, this afternoon.
Agreed. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.